And deep down, you wonder, if I slow down, will something fall apart? So, believing that speed prevents danger, but also prevents disapproval. So, this was where the transformation came. I'd associated being slow as being a bad thing. The reframe for me is slowing down to speed up. When we're speeding up all the time, what are we communicating to our bodies? We're communicating we're in fight or flight. And valuing thoroughness over efficiency. So you blow out very consciously for a count of 11. That really just calms the hell out. Strategies for overcoming these problems in adulthood. Hi, welcome to the Optimizing Your Brilliance podcast, where we get to the source of what makes people brilliant and explore how to eradicate the barriers that stop you from shining. By shining, I mean being at your absolute best in both work and life. You'll hear from business and thought leaders who bear all and share their insider secrets, along with my episodes focused on optimizing your performance, productivity, success, and well-being. My name is Estelle Reed, founder of Be, executive coach, speaker, and best-selling author of Inner Brilliance, Outer Shine, 10 Antidotes to Imposter Syndrome, Workaholism, and Stress. So, if you're ready to take your work life to the next level, let's begin. Hello. Here we are for this mini-series, and today's pattern is the hurry up pattern. I'm guilty of this one. I will share an example as we go. So imagine the scene, see if you can relate. Your morning moves in a rapid rhythm. You sprint to catch the bus, skip breakfast, scan emails on the commute, and make a sprint through the office doors. A teammate asks a question. You respond in a flurry, cutting them off mid-sentence because you've already started drafting your reply in your head. In a meeting, you speak in rapid-fire snippets, a flood of ideas before anyone else has finished their thought. By 11 a.m, your boss praises your efficiency, but your chest is feeling tight, your jaw aches, and you notice that you're not really listening. You're just predicting what's coming next so you can stay one step ahead. Later, you glance at your calendar and you realise every slot has been booked, every task is compressed, and deep down you wonder, if I slow down, will something fall apart? So the core fear with the hurry up pattern is missing something crucial or being judged as incompetent if you slow down. The fear of abrupt consequences, mistakes, or disapproval of others pushes us to rush and skip thoroughness. I'm certainly guilty of this pattern. Take, for example, today, my husband is retired. There's 13.5 years difference between us. It's going to be a while before I retire. My ultimate fear is by the time I come to retire, he's not going to be well enough to do the things that we love together. So somehow I've got to not be semi-retired because I'm not retiring. I love what I do, but balance spending time with my husband whilst also maintaining my business. So today we're going off to Grasmere for a little walk and some lunch. But one of the things that really stressed me out a little bit, I said to him the other night, I don't know, I'm going to fit everything in. And sometimes you just got to stop and you've just got to take that decision. So that's what I've done. He is just so important to me that I've got to spend time with him. The origins of this particular pattern, the hurry up pattern, is urgency as a safety signal. So believing that speed prevents danger, but also prevents disapproval. So the messaging from adults is that delays are risky. So remember that these patterns come from our parents or our carers. They're unconscious patterns. It's completely normal. If you've got kids, you'll have created these patterns in your children as well. Your parents will have contributed to your patterns. Relax and be easy. Don't judge yourselves, don't judge your parents. So, here are some childhood examples that maybe you could relate to. And I'm afraid this is me. I have created this pattern in my daughter. So, when she was at infant school, we lived in a 3-story house, and I've always been last minute. Don't ask me why. The clock in my head is rubbish. And I'm either absolutely bob on time or I'm flipping bonkers early. And so when she started school, I was bonkers early because it was like a new thing. So I absolutely had to be really early. And then once I relaxed into the rhythm, I was that parent who would do the walk of shame, jogging down to the school gate just before the lollipop lady was shutting the gate. So I would literally, my daughter would fly in to the classroom at the last minute, and that was completely my fault. And the other behaviours that would encourage her to hurry up would be, so back to living in a 3-story house, I knew that for her to get, because she would get ready in our bedroom, which was at the top of the house, for her to get from the top of the house to the bottom, it would take her about 3 minutes. Carefully holding onto the banister. I also knew it would take us 2 minutes to get coat on, get shoes on. I'd got a system for where the shoes would always be, but this is where the system would break down. If we didn't put the shoes back in the basket, and so we had to go and hunt for the shoes, so I'd allowed for that 5 minutes in my head to get us out of the door so that we could be on time. But I would have to do that run of shame if the system broke down. Hopefully, some of you can relate, or whether it's just me. But yeah, so I have given off urgency vibes to my daughter, and I drive my family crackers even now. So I know my husband builds in time to our departure time schedule. He'll go, we've got to leave at 11:30. Really, it's 11:45, and sometimes I know that. So I'll build in a bit of fat. But what's frustrating is like everybody will be sat on the drive, the car's running, and I'm grabbing my coat and, oh, sorry about that. So yeah, apologies to my family. That is totally me. So what this can drive in our children, so if we give this hurry up vibe, is the fear of missing out. So you can imagine the fear of missing out the start of class, a fear of lateness, being chastised by a teacher, a fear of exposure. So not only was that walk or run of shame my shame, it was my daughter's shame as well. She was missing out on the chat in the playground on those days when I was really late. You see where I'm going with this? So, what problems does this cause in adulthood? From a work perspective, it causes rushed decisions because we're doing everything at a million miles an hour. We also make mistakes by skimming things, so not going into any detail. So you might see a crossover with, so if you're into personality profiling as well, the DISC profile, which stands for dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance, depending on which profile you use. So you will see a crossover with this pattern, the hurry up pattern, and also the high influence, which is all about being an influential person, being the communicator, that type of thing. And you'll see that one of the weaknesses of that profile is that sometimes they also skim the details as well. They also have difficulty with planning. Now, I'm going to totally contradict myself here. So I am a really good planner. I've always got the 5-year timeline in my head, which again can drive people crackers because I'm always thinking about what's coming up. But the other thing as well, so even though I think I have created the hurry up pattern in my daughter, and I am naturally hard on myself. If you were listening to the last podcast, my relationship with my kids is important. And with my daughter, she's actually a really great planner. She is actually always on time and doesn't use the hurry up pattern. So that's cool. I've just had that realization mid podcast. Anyway, so back to the problems it causes. So in work, as I said, rush decisions, mistakes from skimming, difficulty with planning. With mental health, it can cause a baseline of stress because we're constantly on that hurry up pattern. We're doing everything at breakneck speed, irritability, and then also harsh timing expectations. We expect everyone else to be on our speeded up pattern of behavior. And one of the things, so if I'm doing a time management talk with people, and also refer to it in my book, I talk about as having a production line. So one of the patterns, which will be a pattern, it's the please me pattern, which I'll come on to in a future episode. So one of the challenges they have is not being able to say no to things. So what that causes is putting lots of tasks on our metaphoric production line and having more than we can cope with. And so when we have too much on our metaphoric production line, we have two options. We can speed that production line up, so make it go faster, so speed everything that we're doing up in order to get through the workload. Or we can extend productivity hours. So instead of shutting down, I used to work in factories, so you have a shutdown for repair and maintenance. We break down, so we don't take the holidays. We work extended hours. We work overtime shifts. And that never ends well, does it? So speeding up is one of the things that we do. So the mental health challenges, as I say, baseline stress and also irritability because people aren't speaking or doing things quickly enough, and attention fragmentation because we are always thinking about the next thing, finishing people's sentences, etc. When this pattern, and again, it's a pattern I've really worked hard on, when this pattern was at its worst, one of my cues was I didn't have patience for coat hangers. Hilarious is that? Metal coat hangers. I'd be like, oh, can't get the coat hanger out because they were all tangled. And so that was me being impatient. So look out for little clues. Where are you being impatient or feeling stressy or that type of thing, either with people or things? So the client example, I'm going to use myself as an example again. Obs. So when I used to work as an head of HR many moons ago, over 20 years ago now, I was constantly in that rush mode. You'd see me rushing down the corridor, speaking at a million miles an hour. When people came in to talk to me, it was my job to resolve HR issues. So imagine this is, I am sat at my desk. This is my computer. I'd literally keep my fingers on the keyboard and I'd turn my head, so not even my full body, and I'd go, yeah. I wasn't fully engaging because I had too much to do. And so, I was giving off vibes, don't interrupt me. I am busy. I always had flushed cheeks as well. Might have had something to do with the Pepsi Max as well. I noticed that used to speed me up. But yeah, I was just always stressed all the time. And if I ever came across a slow talker, oh my goodness, in my head, I'd be like, come on, get to the point. And this has been the benefit of coaching because I absolutely couldn't have had that mindset when I'm working with my clients that I'm not going to get the best out of a client if I'm trying to get them to speed up all the time. So, yeah, so this, and I'll get onto the tips in a moment, what you can do, but it really transformed the hurry up in me. How did I resolve this? So my outcome, I went and sat in a shed for 6 weeks. I went on a mindfulness course. It was hilarious. I was such a classic corporate Mrs. Stiffknickers, sat there in my corporate wear, my coaching wear, sat on a plastic stool in this shed. Everyone else had like relaxed joggers on, cross-legged, giving it on. That's really judgmental, isn't it? I was sat there like that, totally didn't fit in. But I did learn loads from it. In that, it taught me to lead a mindful life, which is one of the antidotes really to speeding up. So the way this worked for me was learning to eat mindfully. How often do we ram food down our throats because we're on hurry up, not really tasting? Also, Paul McKenna's book was good for that. I Can Make You Thin. Probably need to re-listen to that. But the process of really taking our time and slowing down and focusing on the flavors, great. In fact, one of the standing jokes in our family is my nana, God rest her soul. So whenever we'd have her round for dinner, we'd always put her at the head of the table. She was in the most important seat. And we'd all finish our dinner and she was there. We'd be through our dessert and she's still finishing off a main course. And she used to giggle. And now I am that person. And I'll say at the dinner table, oh my goodness, I'm turning into my nana because it takes me ages to eat my food. But it is about being mindful. But the other thing is that I just felt the peace of and joy of life. So another practical example at lunchtime. So our garden backs onto a little country lane and then there's fields at the back and a bit of a fell. So we are, even though we're on the skirts of Kendal, we're the second to the last house on this road, which then is in countryside. So it's like we live in the countryside, even though we class ourselves as townies. At night, we can hear owls. I absolutely love it. So again, that's being mindful, that's slowing down, listening to the birds. And at lunchtime, we've got a friend, we call him Philly Pheasant. We've got a pheasant. He comes and pecks on the window to let us know he wants some food. And we put a bowl of seed out on the patio. And we have bird feeders at the back, which we watch all the time. But this is it's been in a zoo. So we put our food out and just watch this pheasant at lunchtime. And that is, so in between clients, that's me slowing down, being present with my clients. Other examples include, so when I first started with my speaking career, which was about 25 years ago, I would speak at a million miles an hour. I was a bit like a horse commentator, blah, blah, trying to get through my lines as quickly as I could. I'd absolutely exhaust myself. And then, having observed other brilliant presenters and modeled their behavior, what I realized is actually those most impactful presenters were those that took the time and they weren't rushing through things. And when I did the deeper change work personally, so I'd associated, so this was where the transformation came. I'd associated being slow as being a bad thing. You'll have heard me talk about sat on the thick table. I was branded a slow learner, so that's what my school report used to say. Estelle Jenkinson is a slow learner and needs to speed up. Do you know what? That's what I did. I learned to speed up. I thought that being quick, the way I spoke, the way I moved, was a way of demonstrating my intellect, which is absolute BS, isn't it? Hello, can you do me a favour? Would you mind either liking or subscribing wherever it is that you listen? So maybe that's on YouTube or Spotify or Apple, because that will help us to keep going and keep growing. The other thing that will be really helpful is if you could share it with someone that would also benefit from the content. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Right, let's get on. When in fact, actually, the opposite is the truth. It's not the truth. Of course, there's people that speak quickly that are clever, but there's also another truth out there that some of the most amazing minds are very poised and considered in the way in which they speak. Disconnecting that belief, havening away that at childhood events, so using havening to break that neural pathway so that it was no longer important, was also what helped support that change. What else do I need to tell you? Strategies for overcoming these problems in adulthood. So when it comes to our mindset, so the reframe for me is slowing down to speed up. So recognizing that actually, so once I learned to slow down as a presenter, I learned that actually not only did I conserve my energy, but I was a more effective presenter as well. And it helped me to feel calm, because when we're speeding up all the time, what are we communicating to our bodies? We're communicating we're in fight or flight. So taking my foot off the gas, kept my teeth in, helped me to slow down. And also valuing thoroughness over efficiency. So, when we're speeding up, get the job off the to-do list, actually, we end up having to rework things, don't we, when we speed up? So working at a slower pace means that we don't then waste time later on having to rework things. What else was I going to mention? Tools for you, micro pauses. So I was listening to Mel Robbins this morning, and here is an example of a micro pause. What she does when she's in a traffic jam or in a shopping queue, instead of feeling irritated by the queue, she takes a moment to do box breathing. So breathe in for 4. I think it's then inhale. So inhale, hold your breath, exhale for 4. So I don't really know. Look it up. Sorry, not expert on box breathing. I tell you what I do use though, it's called 7-11 breathing. So you breathe in for a count of 7, 3 nose, and then you exhale, so you blow out very consciously for a count of 11. That really just calms the hell out. What else? The other thing as well that you can do is obviously use mindfulness. One of the ways in which we can tune into or be more consciously aware and mindful of our environment is to go, right, okay, what are 4 things I can see right now? So if I was to do this, I can see my camera, I can see a plant, I can see my laptop, and I can see my water. Then you would cycle through, what are 3 things I can hear? I can hear the whirring of the laptop. I can hear silence. Before I could hear my Frenchie barking. I hope you couldn't hear it. And then what are 2 things I can feel? I can feel the back of the chair against me, and I can feel the clothes against my torso. So it's really getting you to tune into your experience. And imagine doing that when you're out walking. The other thing as well is to schedule buffer times either side of each appointment. So I've already alluded to this fact earlier. So if you know that you are not great at holding time in your head, but here's the thing, do you know what I can do? I know, so if I set a timer on Alexa, oops, I thought she was going to go off then. I will ask Alexa, how long have I got left on my timer? And usually I've got seconds left. So I think we do have quite good body clocks. But if you know that you take longer than expected, work out how long it takes you to do each one of those tasks. So I use the example of knowing it took 5 minutes to get out the door. We had a spot for the shoes, so that was the system. So we didn't have to go and look for the shoes, but the system broke down, or the time plan went to pot, the time buffer, if the shoes weren't put in the basket, and we had to go and hunt all over the house for the shoes. So working out how long it takes to do things. So let's say if it takes you 5 minutes to get out the door, get up from your desk at 5 to the hour instead of on the hour. That really made a difference for me. And then what else can you do? So some of the resources I've got for you. So any mindfulness technique. So On your watch, we have a mindfulness app that you can use. There's loads of free apps there where you can do mindful breathing, get yourself to a mindfulness class, go out in nature, really be in what you're in, use that 4, 3, 2. So what 4 things I'm seeing, 3 things I'm hearing, 2 things I'm feeling. Take a mindful break during your day. So create that muscle memory where you are practicing slowing down, not speeding up. And then, of course, you can use havening, which is the greatest cheat method of all. So if you, like me, you were given a message that it was a bad thing to be slow when you were growing up, and there are events in your past, then haven them away or see a havening practitioner to haven them away. So that brings me to the end of the Hurry Up episode. The next episode, we're going to be exploring the please pattern, such a popular pattern. So the core fear is rejection or abandonment, and the challenges are around setting boundaries and prioritizing our own needs. The fear is that if we say no, it's going to damage relationships or erode our belonging, and it leads to pervasive people pleasing. So I hope that's been useful, and see you for the next one. If you'd like to be notified when the next episode drops, remember to subscribe. If you found this episode helpful, please share it with someone who might benefit. Finally, if any of these topics have sparked your interest and you'd like to work with me, you can apply for a free discovery call at estellereed.com. Let's see if we're a good fit. You'll also find plenty of free resources there. I'm Estelle Reed, executive coach, speaker, and best-selling author, and this has been the Optimizing Your Brilliance podcast. Thanks for listening. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. Please consult with a qualified professional for any specific advice related to your situation.